Hello friends, this is Captain Dave with Simple Plan Trucking along with my beautiful wife, Miss Brooke. And we are here today in Kenly, North Carolina. Kenly, I think it is, right?
I'm not sure.
Kenly, North Carolina. We were driving up the road, had a load coming from South Florida, a flour load, going in New Jersey, and the fuel stop brought us here to a Petro, and I was thinking it was just going to be a Petro, you know, just like any other fuel stop. And I pulled in here, and it is strangely much like Iowa 80. In fact, I think it's owned by the same people. The setup is much the same. So we just decided to take our rest break here. We got in this morning, took a nap, got up, had a great breakfast at Iron Skillet, took some showers, did some stuff on the truck, and now here we are catching up with y'all with a video. Have to tell you, I really wanted to get more content out. I wanted to be making stuff every day, but the best laid plans sometimes don't come to fruition. I gotta tell you, this figuring out life on the road is not as easy as I had hoped it would be. We have a few things to talk with you about today, and just to start, I guess I'd tell you that we've been on the road now just over 2 weeks. We're planning to do a 5-week run. And I think I mentioned in an earlier video that instead of saying exactly when we were going to come home, our plan is to stay out until we make a certain amount of revenue. And I won't share with you what that is yet, but I will at a later date. We're still feeling things out, seeing what works for us. And a lot of the struggle has been figuring out how to do life on the road, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Because you like to go, go, go.
You gotta speak up or they won't hear you, love.
You like to go, go, go.
Yeah, I have a little bit of a, I'm drawn in a couple different ways here. The whole reason that we're doing this is with our 5-year plan, our simple plan, is to make a bunch of money and be able to retire and ride off into the sunset. But, bringing my wife along, it kind of changes the equation a little bit, because I made a promise to her that we would try really hard to do life on the road. And that's not the easiest thing to do. You get your load and you get the time that it has to be there, and then even with the best trip planning, things happen. And finding places to stop on the road is not the easiest thing to do with a 53-foot truck and trailer. So we've had a lot of bickering. Is bickering the right word? Somebody used that with us before.
I don't think it's bickering. I think bickering is when you banter back and forth.
Okay.
I think it's quarreling.
Quarreling. Okay, well that's a better word.
Because there's like yelling involved.
Well, there's some honesty for you. But yeah, it has been stressful at times. And so there's been some disagreements, some quarreling, and we're trying to figure all this out, how it works for us. So that's why there hasn't been a lot of content. There's been a lot of stress, and there's been a lot of working hard and figuring out how to do things and trial and error. And luckily nothing serious has happened, though we have had some mishaps along the way, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So we're on our 9th load right now since coming back out on the road. We've been primarily in the East Coast. We did do a couple days out in Springfield because Brooke needed to pick up her TWIC card, which she now has in her possession, and we're all set to pretty much go anywhere that we need to. We've been up to Maine. It was beautiful. We did have a drive up to Maine, and we stopped and got some lobster rolls. Which was something that I promised Brooke I'd do, and it really didn't pan out the way that she liked for it to. I think she wanted us to find a quaint little restaurant on the water and enjoy some local flavor with our lobster rolls.
You said we would Uber to somewhere and eat them.
Originally, I had wanted to get up, park the truck, get an Uber, and head over and do just that. But the way the load played out and where we were and when we had to get there, the best I could do was pull into the truck stop, find a place that had good lobster rolls, and Uber Eats delivered them to us on the truck at the truck stop, and we hit the road, and Brooke enjoyed hers while I watched, and then she fed me mine while we motored on to Lewiston, Maine to our 90. So it's not as glamorous as we would like for it to be. And I don't think anybody ever promised that trucking would be glamorous, but it is challenging. We've been to a load, we actually picked up a load in the caves, in some of the caves over in Missouri and in Carthage, Missouri, I think, and that was challenging. Getting backed in there because of the big, in the caves, they have the columns to get around and getting that trailer around them. And I was just not making it happen. And we were lucky enough to meet a trucker who had been doing it for, I think he said 50 years, right?
Long time.
He had his own company. He had people to work for him. At one time, he had 400 trucks himself. So he was big time. And now it's just him. And I think he has 3 or 4 trucks. But very nice guy. He got out there and he said, yeah, this is in my best interest too. He goes, I don't want you backing into my truck. So I'm going to put his picture up here because he's a nice guy and we took his picture. And there are just so many nice people out there along the way. People want to be helpful, genuinely. We find that when they can tell that you're new, they go out of their way to try to make you feel comfortable in the industry and to help you do what you need to do. And he wasn't the only one. We were at other place dropping a load, and I just could not figure out how to get that trailer into the hole. And then I realized, ding, 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 I had slid the tandems all the way to the rear, and that completely changes the equation with the length of the truck. So we've about decided now that in the future we're going to wait until we get the truck in position in the hole, and then we're going to slide the tandems so that it's a lot easier to manage. Brooke is in training. I am her trainer, as you know. Funny, new guy training somebody. So the truth is we're kind of learning all of this together. And she's not done much backing yet. I think that that's okay in our situation because we are husband and wife, and she's not going to complete TNT and then be out on her own. We're going to continue this process, and she'll continue to learn at a pace that's good for her. But really, it's better for me right now to continue my backing practice. And I will say that I feel a lot more comfortable with it. Certainly a long way to go, but I'm getting into those holes.
You are getting in a lot faster, and you have improved. Every time we show up at a new place, he gets in there faster and faster. When he first started backing, I thought to myself, he's not ready to teach me how to back because he doesn't know how to back. So.
And I really wasn't. I probably had backed a total of 10 times through all of my TNT, which isn't enough. But nobody says TNT is going to make you ready. TNT is going to get you introduced and hopefully safe. And I think I knew enough to at least avoid backing into things. And thankfully we haven't done any of that. We've had some times when we had to look real closely on the sides and we were close to things and had to back the truck up and maneuver around to get around. Every time you turn, it can be dicey depending on where you are. And some of these corners, you have to really turn out into the oncoming traffic lane to get that trailer around, especially in the cities. Our last load, we picked up the load we're on now. We went down to Miami, and everybody talks about how tight the docks are in Miami and the traffic down there. So we were really dreading it, but our fleet manager convinced us that we were ready for it and to take the challenge. And so we did. And we were blessed that in this situation, that this shipper, they actually have their yard dog back everybody's trailer in for them. They have you drop the trailer, he puts it in, and then they call you after it's loaded. You hook up and pull out. So we were able to get in and out of there.
Made it easier.
Much easier.
Less intimidating.
Right. So, Brooke, what do you think right now? How are you feeling? We really have been at it almost a month on the road together. We were out for a week, then we came home for 4 days, and now we're starting our 3rd week.
You said the other day that we had only been out 2 weeks, just since we went out again, our second time out. Right. And I thought for sure it had been a month.
felt like a
month. So.
Yesterday was 2 weeks actually.
It's tedious. Just. Maybe tedious isn't the right word, but it's just your days just start rolling into each other. You forget which day of the week it is. Every time you wake up, you're somewhere different, different state. I was sick a couple of days, and I completely lost track of time when I was sick. I think David ran a load almost entirely by himself. I drove a little bit, fever and all, but that kind of threw me.
Yeah, you have to be ready for those kinds of things, and thankfully it was Brooke that got sick and not me, because I don't think that she would have been comfortable with doing the whole process, shippers, receivers, all that kind of thing. We'd have probably been shut down.
We might have done it, but I would have been waking you up with fever and all to get it.
Yeah, all right. What's next? But she is learning, and I think she's getting it down. And the backing is one piece of it. Trip planning is so important. People don't talk about that as much. They talk about learning how to back, and they talk about the procedures of shippers and receivers. But in my experience, learning how to properly trip plan can make or break you. You get a proposed load, and they want to know pretty quickly whether you're going to take that load or not. And so you have to figure out where it is that you're going in the country, how much time it's going to take to get you there, how many hours of drive time and fuel stops. And then in our case, we try to factor in downtime together. Our goal right now is not to drive as a true team where I drive 10 hours, then she drives 10 hours, and it's back and forth, just hot seating constantly. In our situation, what we want to try to do, what we've agreed to do, is to drive about 16 hours a day. Each of us drive 8, maybe I'll drive 9. And then we park the truck for 8 hours, and we sleep, we shower, we eat, and we enjoy life with each other. The piece that's, I think, we're having to realize is it's not real easy to have a regular life on a truck, because it's very difficult to get to places when you have to handle and manage the truck. You have to leave it at a truck stop. You would have to set up an Uber or somehow get to wherever it is that you want to go. And it's just not the easiest thing to do when you're always under a load and it's a time constraint. So we're going to continue to work on that. And if others of you out there are doing what we're trying to do, any suggestions or advice would be very helpful, because from my perspective, that's one of the things that's really stressful for us the most right now. And I think one of the biggest disappointments for Brooke, right?
So someone asked me the other day, how's that oven that you guys bought working out? We had that microwave oven, 3-in-1 air fryer thing. And I started laughing, and I said, I haven't got to use it yet. I said, I used the microwave once. I said, but I haven't had time to cook. And part of that was my argument with David, is I was like, you're not giving us any living time, just meaning I haven't even had time to sit down and make a meal. We keep buying the meal, or we keep snacking, or like we have some sandwich meat we've been kind of putting together, wraps and things like that. And I'm like, you need to schedule in our day some type of like living time to like sit down and like read a chapter in a book, or just some downtime. And I think the hardest part is the sleeping on demand, because he's like, you're supposed to be sleeping right now, and then if you had slept when you were supposed to, then you would have had time to make the dinner or take a shower. He likes to do that. You have a choice. You can either take a shower or you can sleep. I'm like, that's not a choice. So I think that's what I'm looking for, is is to schedule in that living time, that time when we're not just driving and running from one place to another.
So that's what our big challenge is. We're going to continue to work on that. This has been a good day today, the way that it worked out. There was enough time on this load. We've had 6 or 8 hours to take a break. I drove in this morning. I've had my 10-hour break. I'm going to drive out tonight, so Brooke won't have to drive again till tomorrow. So she has plenty of time to do life for about 40
Well, he says that,
hours.
but I'm ready for bed.
Okay. Well, let's go to bed.
I had a shower today and I'm ready for bed, but we were supposed to get laundry in today, and I had this huge bag of laundry and I didn't get laundry in today.
Right. I said, well, we hadn't done a video since before we left this time. The last video was the one that I made on the carpet for the truck. So it was time. We're not dead. We are still out here. We're still motoring hard. We're making great money. But we're going through all of the growing pains that I think everybody does when they start in trucking, especially a married couple.
You gonna tell them about your pickles?
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about that. Well, and you had one too, so we'll talk about all of them.
I didn't have one.
Yeah, well,
you got
let's
me
see.
into that.
I got you into
That
it.
doesn't count.
All right, but I got you out of it too.
It's left. Go left.
All right. So I told you that we have not had any accidents, which is good. Nothing, no damage, nobody hurt, nobody killed, no damage to the truck. Well, you have
Nobody
to
killed.
celebrate the successes, right? You have to look at the positives when
Nobody
things
died.
happen. However, I guess a couple weeks ago, no, it was about a week ago, we were in Hammond, Louisiana. We were picking up a chicken load down there and bringing it back to Joplin, Missouri. And it was dark when we got out of there. It was probably 10 o'clock, something like that. And the instructions said, don't turn right out of the shipper, which I had in my mind. I was like, okay, the instructions said don't turn right. So I pulled up there, and at big as life, there was a sign at the exit from the shipper that said all trucks must turn right. So I said, well, do I follow the instructions on the Qualcomm, or do I follow the sign, which is probably something I would get arrested for if I turned left? So I turned right, and we went down the road about a quarter of a mile, and the GPS directions took me on a road to the right. And it was out in the country. There was no lights, there was no street lights, there was really no way for me to see what was going on with the side of my trailer.
It wasn't country, it was a country town.
It was a country town, but there was no lights. That's the point I was making. There was no way to see what was going on in the truck beside me. So I was a really tight turn to the right. A single, just a double lane of traffic. And I took every bit of it that I could, and I thought that I was okay, but there was traffic around me, so I was a little bit pushed to make that turn. And sure enough, I came around the corner and my right rear tires went into a ditch. And the truck...
I was in the back sleeping, and I hear him say, "Oh, crud." The tires are in a ditch. The trailer's in a ditch.
We're not going anywhere right now.
And I said, "Can you pull it out?" It's like, "I don't think so."
So the trailer was like at a 1 o'clock. It was at a tilt of like a 1 o'clock on a clock face, and it pulled the back end of the tractor trailer, the tractor tires on the left side up off the ground like a foot. And Brooke slept through this whole thing.
I did not. You woke me up.
I woke you up, but the incident didn't wake you up, is what I'm saying.
The incident, the incident woke me up, but when you said that, it woke me up, and I came up to the passenger seat, and I looked out the window to see if he could pull it out of the ditch, and I was horrified to see what
I was horrified.
saw.
I was embarrassed. I was horrified. I was disappointed in myself.
In his defense, it was, and we took a picture of this and stuff, but
I'll put it on.
his trailer he angled it so that it was coming around it was like I want to say telephone pole, because it wasn't a light pole,
yeah.
But it was like a street pole. So his trailer was coming around the pole, so if he was looking out of his mirror, it looked like he was going to make it. But what was misleading was the ground was all dark, and what he couldn't see is that it was a big, huge ditch, like a gully of a ditch. And so even though he was making it around the pole, his tires went straight into this big gully of a ditch. It was like a sewage ditch or something like that. So in all fairness, that it wasn't entirely his fault. And then come to find out, when the rescue guy got there.
So I called everybody, called fleet manager. It was nighttime, so I called the nighttime fleet manager, called safety, and then I called road assist, and they got a wrecker out there for us. And the guy got there in about an hour or so, And so as soon as he got there, he goes, yeah, I make a lot of money with Prime at this very spot right here. He said just last week somebody had done the same thing in this ditch. So I didn't feel so bad, but I still felt bad. And
the neighbor stopped and said, this happens how many times a week?
He said it happens all the time. Yeah,
he said it happens like 3 or 4 times a week.
Yeah, trucks always are routed with the GPS to make that turn, and there's just really no way to make that turn there. So if anybody's...
In David's defense.
And I'm not looking for a defense, but just be aware if you go to that chicken place, Sanderson Farms, I think, in Hammond, Louisiana, don't turn right. Turn left and go back to the interstate. So I got some pictures and some video, which I'll include in this. The guy was great. He was awesome. He jacked that back end he leveled the trailer up into the air, and then he moved it over to the right and back so that the tires were on the road, set it back down. I was able to back it out of there, turn it around, and get out of there. So
we closed the intersection for how long?
It was probably an hour, yeah. But maybe, all right, if I'd have said 2 hours, she'd have said 3, but it was a long time. So anyway, you know, my pride was bruised, my ego was bruised. I never thought that would happen to me, but sure enough it did. But again, on the positive side, nobody was hurt. The load wasn't hurt.
Everything was fine.
No damage to the truck. We were able to deliver the load on time. The only thing was I had a $600 towing bill that showed up on my settlement the next week. So it's okay. Lesson learned.
That was one pickle.
That was one pickle. And then we were in Maine, and we had delivered in Lewiston, and we were headed down to, I think, Saratoga Springs, New York, through the countryside. Actually, it was before we delivered to pick up at Poland Springs, which was a water load out in the middle of nowhere in Maine at night. And again, I'm following the GPS, and it was one of those times where you look on the GPS and the line seems to go in a circle, round and round and round. I was just here, you know? So it routed me, and it was actually a mistake on my part. I was so close on the GPS that I couldn't tell which way to turn, left or right. It was so, you know, I guessed. And I turned the wrong way, and then it brought me back around to get me back on the route. And I turned down a road that was too tight. I turned to the left. It kind of came back at an angle, and got the truck hung up in there, and couldn't get it around because my back end was out in the road in traffic. So I woke Brooke up. I asked her to get out and to help me to guide the truck back. And luckily there was another Good Samaritan, another great guy that stopped his truck, and he got out and helped me. Did a bunch of pulling forward, backing. Eventually we backed the truck straight out and got it turned around, and we got it out of there. But it was another embarrassing situation. And I think there was another time when we got off track too.
I think there was like 3 more times.
Yeah, it wasn't 3 more times. It happened a couple more times, and one of them was Brooke was driving actually.
That doesn't count.
It absolutely counts.
You guided me.
Hey, who's the captain of the ship?
Turn left. I saw the sign. It's to the left.
Who was the captain of the ship?
You.
And then once you got down there, who got into the driver's seat and got it out of there?
You.
Once you
got me into the pickle, got me out of the pickle.
Of course. So anyway, the moral of the story is don't always trust your GPS, and don't go down a road that is questionable. Go the extra mile on the road that you're long.
Like a shopping center behind a building.
Or go, that was the other one. I turned into a shopping center because I was out of DEF, the DEF fluid. And I was trying to get some at a gas station, and they didn't have what I needed. But it said truck route to drive around a shopping center. So since it said truck route, I thought, well, they make deliveries back there. So I followed it and got hung up behind the building. And once again,
in an alleyway between 2 shopping plazas.
I had to get Brooke out of the truck to watch the traffic for me in the back. But hey, if nothing else, I'm getting lots of backing practice and getting out of sticky situations, which every single time we have. So I would imagine that these kind of things happen a lot with people when they're first starting. And I'm so thankful that I have a helper on the truck to get back there and be a ground guide for me, because I would imagine that if you were a solo driver and you got in some of these situations, I don't know how you do it by yourself.
I don't know how you get out.
So anyway, that's where we are, and we're continuing to learn. We are. I'm say I'm loving it. I wouldn't say that Brooke's loving it right now, but she's being a trooper and she's staying positive about it, and we're committed to this plan that we have to make it happen. And I think that it's going to continue to get better. What do you think?
I like driving.
Mm-hmm.
I like driving in straight lines.
That's what I promised her. I said, well, all you have to do is get on the truck and promise to drive for 8 hours in a straight line for 8 hours every day. So she's stretched a little more because she's able to get on and off at the exits, and she
I can
helps with
push
the fueling.
myself, and I can drive a decent amount of time that you asked me to.
Right. Last night you drove a good bit. That was a nice drive, bringing us up from South Florida. She drove all the way from Miami to, I guess, just around Savannah area before we switched out.
I drove right till the road got bumpy, and then I got to go in the back and try and sleep during the bumpy road.
Right.
You got all the flat Florida smooth roads.
Boy, that's one of the benefits of Florida. You don't make any money coming out of Florida. The rates are terrible, but the roads, man, are like beautiful compared to the rest of the country that we've been on.
As soon as we hit Georgia and the Carolinas, it was just like driving on rocks.
Ohio, some of these states are just horrible with their roads, and so we're blessed in Florida with a better road system. I guess because we don't have the weather that some of the other parts of the country do. So anyway, that's all. I think we've been going a good long time now, and wanted to just get on here and share with you some of the challenges that we've had along the way, and we're learning and we're getting better with it. I am going to make a video of our truck as it's set up right now. It's not complete yet. Again, we like so many people, we brought way too much stuff, but I will at least show you.
And we eliminated stuff. We still brought too much stuff.
But after a couple of weeks on the road, you figure out what you really need and what you don't need. So we're gonna, on our next trip home, we're gonna pare down again. But I'll share with you what I got, the major things. We got a great fridge. We got the 3-in-1 that we've only used one time as a microwave.
I've used it a couple times as a microwave, but
literally
just started using it.
Just started. I thought you just took the stuff out of it the other day, right?
That's what I'm saying. I literally just started.
All right.
I think we've been, like I said, he's been go, 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 and then I piped in about that, and I was like, there's no living time. So he's tried to slow us down a little bit and find a little space to have living time or video time to try and even make a video. But then this past week with me being sick, that kind of threw us for a whole loop too, unexpected. So I feel like this week coming up, I think we got 3 more weeks we're hoping before we can make it back to the house.
Yep.
So over the next 3 weeks, I have high hopes of sort of getting some new schedules adapted where we can fit in some.
We're going to try to run, it's all load dependent, but what we're going to try when we can as much as possible is I'm going to start driving at about 8 or 9 and drive through the night. And then when the sun comes up, we found out that Brooke is a solar powered driver. She doesn't do well driving at night, or as well. She can't see as well. So
do okay on the big open highways.
Right, but she feels more comfortable, and I feel more comfortable with her driving during the day. So she'll start driving about 6 or 7 in the morning, and maybe noon or 1 or 2, we'll get off the road and park for about 8 hours. And that works out well for us too, because man, trying to find a parking spot at these truck stops is just nearly impossible anytime after 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
After noon, I think.
They start filling up. So we're going to try to drive through the night, early morning, and then park around noon or 1, and then start it all over again in the evening time. That's all we have for you today, but we wanted to say hello. We've missed reaching out with you, missed the feedback. Please, if you like what you've heard, let us know. Please like the video, ring the bell, and please subscribe. The one thing you could do that would help us a lot, if you know someone that may be interested in trucking as a career and would be interested in following along with our journey, please share it with them. It's a great opportunity for people of any age and any situation, younger people, older people, specifically, I guess I'll say middle-aged folks like Brooke and I. People who are on their 2nd or 3rd career as a great way to finish out and see the country. Look forward to talking with you again. Brooke, anything? Nothing. She got nothing. It's Captain Dave, Miss Brooke, Simple Plan Trucking. Remember to keep your plans simple, have fun along the way, and be safe out there. Bye for now.
Bye, y'all.